not a long time ago, the CIOs, when they used to address the board members about the cybersecurity investment, they would have to justify why it is important. And the board members used to be very skeptical of the business value it was going to bring about. But today, the situation has changed. Today, the board members themselves are asking whether we are doing enough to ensure that our cyber security risk is minimized. So, if let us start with one of the first things, which is one of the primary initiatives to shape up the cybersecurity posture for any organization, which is policy making. So we have Vinayak Godse with us, who will explain the role of policy making in cybersecurity. Mr. Vinayak, over to you.
I would like to deliberate more on how the drivers such as a public policy in cybersecurity shapes the way the security and privacy are being managing. And these public policies are also driving many larger good, public good, but also shapes the way the security is evolving and security market ecosystem is functioning. The overall ecosystem for security is functioning. So why this is required? Because some time back we had been using a term called information security when we prepare ourselves for the taking care of the issues and problem of cybersecurity. So we would have looked at the drivers, and those drivers are largely in the context of information security will be mostly intrinsic in nature, taking care of your IPR, taking care of your infrastructure, and taking care of your businesses basically. So you'll be largely focused on a deterrence, prevention, defend, and confirm, and the focus is largely on a process, audit, documentation, and compliance. But eventually, in last 3-4 years of time, we have been increasingly using the word cybersecurity. So we probably need to understand what this word means for us, and this word as a cybersecurity. If you try to understand how it is evolving and how it is shaping, so if you just look at the drivers, for example, there are many extrinsic driver also needs to be taken care of. It is apart from the intrinsic requirement of cybersecurity. So you need to be looking at the global health of cyberspace, the national security will be expecting you to do something for cybersecurity. The consumers are expecting you to behave sensibly and accountably to the data and to their communication. A lot of state national actors which are coming in cybersecurity space. There are a lot of regulators now taking cybersecurity on their agenda. Until now it was RBI, but now IRDA, SEBI, so many regulators are coming in the cybersecurity space. And there are a lot of international affairs of internet space which are shaping the way you have been using the internet and digital technologies. And then increasingly, because of the third actor, because of the non-state involvement, because of this is becoming increasingly a national cybersecurity goal. Cybersecurity is called as a fifth domain of national security. So there are operations which are now shifting to threat intelligence, detection, investigation, response, limiting damage, recovering from the incident that you are getting into. Yes, the information security aspects are definitely important, but these actions are becoming more increasingly important, and there are increasing focus now on a threat operation and governance when we are talking about the public policy making for cybersecurity and privacy. So we all know that security is a key reason, right? And the trustworthiness of digital space is very important. And we have been talking about the digitization of our economy. Almost 20% of a $500 economy would be digital economy, and we definitely are worried about the securing the digitization of economy. We are also worried about because we are going for the fast-paced payment, digital payment transaction processing, and when that transaction processing happening, the securing those transactions is our definitely one of the important goal. As all of the sectors are getting digitized, then protecting business information is definitely one of the important goal. And the industry 4.0, which is now shaping the way the new industrialization happen because of digital technology. So securing the transition is a very, very important goal. Securing our health data and services, because now health ecosystem is also going increasingly digital, and COVID pandemic is now bringing a lot of push to all of those digitization processes, is very important part. So many governments are making plan to deliver the public services to digital way. The critical sectors, as I talked about, are increasingly making their digitization plan. And there are some larger national strategic assets, basically, they need to be protected. So security is definitely one of the important factor, important driver for public policies in cybersecurity space. And this driver is pushing many countries to take a credible step to secure their cyberspace and also assure you the trustworthiness of digital space, assure you the securing of the digital economy, the transaction processing is secure, the industrialization transition, which is happening to more industrialization 4.0 is secure. So this is something that a country has to guarantee, and that's why many of the compliance obligation comes from the driver of security.
Let's talk about the cyber attack surface being expanded in the digital era. So we have with us Mr. Debashish Mukherjee from SonicWall, who will explain about the boundless cybersecurity for hyper-distributed era. Over to you, Mr. Debashish.
Okay, so what we see is, now we are creating a boundless territories. Now everyone is working remote. The footprints are not limited to one place, and that's what we are creating. A lot of complexities in the network, right? There is applications, there are servers, there are networks, and then the clouds. These are all discrete architecture, which probably we have to manage. And when we do so, we are creating complexities, and then a lot of attacks are happening in this environment. So what exactly which we are doing from a SonicWall? So what we do is from our SonicWall intelligence network, which is we call the capture network, we constantly manage and monitor all these activities and understand that how cyber criminals think, right? Because we need to understand what exactly is the trend and how we can develop our solution so that we can actually get ahead, at least one step ahead of them or what they are thinking, right? So that is the way we think and we work with our technologies. So if you see that in last 1 year, what we see, basically it's a continuous effort. We keep tracking year on year what exactly is happening. So you can see the malware, right? This is the trend, which is the malware from 2015, 16, 17, 18 was one of the peak point, and then 19 there was a slight dip, but still this is a 9.9 billion attacks what we have seen in last, at least in 1 year span of time. So which is a huge, right? So, and that much of attacks which we have to go through, analyze, and then protect the customer. Although there is a slight dip, but this is, there is a huge number. That's what I would like to tell you. But then, number of attacks, when probably the malware attacks are slightly less or it's a reducing trend, but there is a lot of different type of developing attacks or the new type of attacks are happening. What we see is ransomware attack is slightly less, malware attack is slightly less, but intrusion attempts has increased, right? IoT attacks are increased. Encrypted threats, which is, we are talking from last 10 years, and we have developed our product to manage or understand encrypted threats, which is increased 27%. And web app attacks, which is increased. And again, I will show you, so this is the last year data, by the way, but then I will show you even as on yesterday's data, which is actually what is happening now, so that you will get the relevant information. So what we're trying to say is, these are the trends. So the attacks are more sophisticated now these days, and this is no more a normal ransomware or a malware attack. So what we have seen is, okay, what are the security industries changing? Security industry, like what we have created is a lot of newer type of technologies. Through that, what we are identifying and never seen attacks. And that's not only us, it's entire industry I'm talking about. Advanced the memory level inspection, that's what we have done. The moment of the perimeter is now we are talking about the perimeter-less security we are talking about. Now we are developing, I think many organizations, many OEM has developed this technology. Phishing down, and because of our technology advancement, cryptojacking crumbles, right? That is also, we all know in the industry why it's happening. But similarly, the cyber criminals are also finding out the different new ways and type of attack that, okay, what is happening in the industry. Like you can see, the ransomware are more of a targeted, and they are targeting local government and primarily it's a targeted. The fileless malwares are, there is a spike. The encrypted threat spike, which you have seen in my slide. IoT attacks, because now here is basically, a lot of things are happening and we see that a lot of activities are happening. Web app attacks doubles, right? So these are the things which is cyber criminals are doing it.
So moving on, let's talk about the security of networks. How to secure the networking infrastructure. To elaborate on that, we have with us Rajesh Kumar from Juniper Networks. Over to you, Mr. Rajesh.
Taking it further from Sonic Wall, as he rightly pointed out, that there is no boundaries today in the network, or if you look at the network infrastructure, there is a diversity in network infrastructure today, right? The one which we were seeing earlier. If you look at the proliferation of devices or the IoT devices, or you look at from the physical and the virtual world, what we are in today, like virtualization is coming up. And also the network infrastructure is very diversified, and it should need to handle different kinds of applications. The users need to access different kinds of applications, and there are no boundaries where the users are today, right? So if you look at the network as one of the key fabric for any kind of applications to be accessed by the users, and the information which needs to be collected, right, from the IoT devices and the devices which needs to use these services. If you look at that, as rightly said, there are no barriers. But once there are no barriers and once there is a diversity in all this, what we are looking at today, how do we safeguard ourselves in terms of protecting from the attacks, what we seen in the reports, what Sonic Wall shown us, right? One is there are a huge number of attacks which are happening, but what is the remediation, what is the detection, what is the protection, what we can do so that we can minimize these attacks, importantly, and then also remediate it and see to it that where the blast radius is reduced in such a way that it is not affected as an entire organization. So that is where I am coming from in my presentation. And moving further, this is just like a security slides, right? Like ever, there is always the threatscape. When you look at, always they are evolving. The hackers are becoming smarter. The stage actors are becoming very using the sophisticated tools. And when you look at all this, then what you see is that the complexity naturally starts increasing in terms of how do we protect, how do we remediate, how do we detect, and how we can minimize these attacks, and how we can protect our organization by not actually getting out the documents or whatever they are looking for, or any kind of phishing attacks. So this threatscape always keeps evolving, and there will be complexity, but how we can take care of that, and how we can see to it that how we can protect our network, how we protect our organization, that is the key when we look at. So moving further, I just wanted to say that as we were discussing, if you see this report, this is actually a report what we, Juniper as a company, did a research recently for when the pandemic started. And we realized that if you look at this report, the graph, what you have seen the slide, it shows very clearly that the users who are sitting working from home, and millions of users who have been out of their jobs. Now today what we see is they are looking at two kinds of users we are looking at. One kind of users who are looking at a lot of manuals and e-books and all that which they want to study and increase their skill set. But on the other side, we are also looking at users who are trying to look at how to do the hacking. What are those hacking courses which are available? How can I do hacking online? And also, if you look at this empire market, what we call it as a dark web market, right? And it is also, we can see there is a lot of buying and all those things are happening in this dark web. So today, because of this pandemic, we see that there is a spike in terms of people, users who are looking at the online hacking courses, trying to do online hacking, and also they are trying to look at how to hack kind of mechanisms. So this is very critical, and in the near future, we can see a new cyber wave coming in terms of actually creating this threat landscape much more, which will evolve much more, and the complexity increases. So I just wanted to highlight in terms of what it is. And you know, this movie, and there is always a saying, right? A defender has to be flawless every single time, but an attacker only needs to succeed once, right? Once he succeeds, then the whole organization gets into a problem, like what you have seen in different attacks. But from the defender point of view, every day there are attacks, Every day we need to defend it, protect it, and remediate it. So it is like one of the captions here, what it says is a small guy popping out of the box, which was the last defense, which will completely bring down his casino, right? So that is just an example I just wanted to give it. It is how difficult it is to protect and defend ourselves. So moving further, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things is that when we look at this kind of, so whenever we have seen with the customers is, whenever there is any new threat coming up, there are new solutions which they try to build, right? They start with the perimeter, then they move into the web application firewalls, then they go into the 802.1x kind of authentication mechanisms, then they put the log management system in place to see what are kind of probable threats which they can see in their network. Then they use a lot of sandboxing technologies. As the earlier speaker was talking about, you need to have different layers of security. There should be different layers of security, but the customer should not feel that once I have different layers of security, I am fully protected, right? Because why I'm saying this is, when you look at this, then you need to have an IT management actually to take care of the management, to correlate the logs from all these devices, and also to see what are the probable threats, and also keep using it and carefully managing it and growing it like a plant, right? So this is where we come in when we look at as a deployment. And also what we have seen in this kind of deployments in any of the customer locations is that it is all in the silos, right? So they put that in the silos. Every device will work what it has to function for. But when you look at as an overall threat scope, when you look at from a 30,000 feet above level, right, then you see that they are all working in silos, but they are not coordinated and connected together to exactly remediate or detect or protect your network. So that is the key, right? You may have multi-layers of security, but that doesn't mean that you have been completely protected. And that doesn't mean that you are being able to mitigate the risk or mitigate the attacks which are going to happen or which has already happened, and how you can reduce your blast radius, right? So what is the key here is the time, right? Time is the key, because if you can actually see, detect, and also block and remediate in a as a threat economics, what they say, if you are faster than the hacker, then you can actually bring down this threat vector to a very low level, right? So that is the key factor here.
Moving on, let's talk about cloud security. When it comes to adoption of cloud, security is a major concern. So we have with us Prashant Mahendru from PwC India, who will talk about the importance of ensuring security in cloud environment. Over to you, Mr. Prashant.
Specifically coming down to this entire cloud security business, I think, there is a little bit of a history to this. So the history is that the cloud service providers typically started by providing a level of automation on top of the infrastructure components of compute, of memory, of storage. Essentially, the entire building blocks for any server in any organization. And what they intended doing was to focus on one very small element of efficiency, which is, in an organization that we are sitting in, a lot of times we see, if we have to host our own data centers, the experience of utilizing that particular data center is probably not complete. In addition, whenever we have to sort of factor in why we need that particular data center or storage or compute facility, it's always, bought for future. So today your capacity requirements might be X, but you would always think about X plus some delta to be able to then harness, the requisite amount of details or requisite amount of, power from that particular equipment. So what cloud provided at that particular point in time was this efficiency piece. Obviously, just like many of you would have your infrastructure hosted on another particular infrastructure provider's physical space, the cloud is also hosted in that particular physical space. The difference between these two is that while you may have some control on how those assets are actually deployed and how those assets interact with each other, On the cloud environment, that particular element becomes a little bit abstract. And that therein lies the entire dubiousness of the scare. Oh, my data is going to be hosted somewhere else. And as a result, because my data is hosted somewhere else, what protection mechanisms do I have? The processing of that data can happen on an infrastructure which is co-used with another entity. And if an attack happens on that entity, how does that sort of come in and interface with our processing equipment? So with these particular methodologies or these particular issues in a mind, what these cloud service providers have started doing is they've started even building the infrastructure. Or you go onto a Microsoft Azure, or you go onto Google, or Oracle, or SAP, any of these particular institutes, IBM, all of these institutes that are providing these cloud services, these entities have started looking at certain patterns. The patterns are very, very clear. They only focus on 4 items. The first, obviously, is the data. The second item is the identity. Who has access or authorization to that data? The third element is the application of the system that is processing that data. And the fourth is the network on which you access that particular data. In the traditional data center, the way we are, articulated our network architecture was typically to create zones. You would create a zone for demilitarized equipment. You would create a zone for militarized equipment. You would create a zone maybe separately for your data. You would create a zone separately for where your users sit. So all those concepts still are applicable even today when you move to the cloud. But there is a slight change. Instead of creating separate zones on the network, what we are seeing is the ability of an organization to buy different accounts or different subscriptions or different tenants on the entire ecosystem of the cloud provider for doing different things. So for testing, you create a separate infrastructure and a separate account. For development, you create a separate account. For staging, you create a separate account. And for production, you create a separate account. So essentially what you're doing is that you're abstracting out those particular layers where this interface was traditionally very close to each other and you had the entire, zoning and all of those particular challenges that you had, now getting a little bit delineated from each other and building in the DevOps processes to take code from one development instance to a testing instance, to a staging instance, and finally to a production instance. So essentially what this does is the principles remain the same, but now you don't need to do zoning the way you were doing zoning in the past. What you need to do is to have the appropriate configurations that allow code to be shifted from dev to test to a staging or a production.
So now let's talk about cloud infrastructure security. Let's look at it from a different angle. Let's look at it from the angle of a cloud platform services provider. So let's go to Mr. Akshay Agarwal, who will talk about the security of cloud infrastructure. Over to you, Mr. Akshay.
So as Oracle, we follow the security first approach or principle. And, as we all know that security is paramount. And when people are moving from on-premise to cloud, the very first thing which comes to their mind is how do they secure their data, which is moving from on-premise to cloud. So I think whatever Prashant was telling you about, let me put that, more as a pictorial presentation. As you can see here, cloud is definitely easing the security challenges because as cloud providers, we are definitely ensuring that whatever we provide in terms of cloud services, we are trying to secure all possible layers in terms of your utilization. So if you are on-premise, you practically have to worry about as a customer to secure all the layers, right from the physical level to infrastructure, network, virtualization, operating system, applications, data and databases, and user access and identity. But as you move to the cloud, and you can see the change in the color, in the infrastructure as a service, the cloud service provider, we as Oracle are already taken care, of everything till the stage of virtualization. And as you go up the value chain in terms of, moving to the PaaS layer and eventually to the SaaS layer, we are taking care of more and more things from the security of the cloud perspective. So when we talk about cloud infrastructure security, we talk about security of the cloud, and we talk about security on the cloud. Security of the cloud is what you see in the dark color, which we kind of take care by default, because as we said, we take care of security as the first principle. And the intention is whatever we as a service provider can take care ourselves, why do we leave it to our customers to worry about? And security, as you can see, you have heard all the eminent speakers. It's not an easy game. I mean, you have to really work hard in terms of having your right strategy in place to secure your assets, which are running in on-premise and cloud. So one big reason to the cloud is security, because the CXOs feel 66% of the CXOs are feeling that the biggest benefit of cloud is security. And obviously, this is ahead of cost reduction, scalability, ease of use, and speed of the cloud that they benefit out of. So as you can see, security is one of the prime drivers, though it's a big concern as well when people are moving. So when people come to us and say, we want to move to Oracle Cloud, are you secured enough and all of that? When they get to understand the kind of security infrastructure that we have put in place, the kind of setup that we have done, the framework that we have put in place, what they see is that the security is the latest, greatest. And depending on, as I said, which layer of or which level of service you are using from us, you are able to get benefit of that level of security. Now, next things, which comes is the security of the, within the cloud. So one is security of the cloud, which we as a cloud service provider are taking care of it. But then when it comes to security on the cloud, that is where we call it as a shared responsibility. So for the past 3 years, we have been doing research and analysis along with KPMG to come up with a cyber threat report around cloud usage. And what we have realized in that most of the CXOs are not very clear in terms of their responsibility to secure their data, their usage of the cloud, when they are moving to any of the public cloud services. What does that mean? That means when you are moving to the cloud, though as a cloud service provider, we can take care of most of the things, but there is still, areas, as you can see in this particular slide, where if you go with an infrastructure as a service, what Prashant, from PwC just mentioned, you still have to worry about the identity. You still have to worry about the data. You still have to worry about your application, your operating system. But as you go up the value chain, you are able to see that we as a service provider are able to secure more and more things for you without you needing to worry about it. But in the best case scenario also, the data and the user access and the identity is still customers' responsibility, and how it is being accessed and how it is being used by their people is still their responsibility. And hence the shared responsibility comes into the play.